So, technology. Because the technology is subjective. Now, the technologies that you're handling are objective technologies. Now, I'm talking about a subjective technology. It's about you. Here, you are the software that you're trying to handle. Fundamentally, if you look at yourself, right now you are operating according to the software that you have become. Please see. What kind of family you were born in, what kind of parents, what kind of school, what kind of friends, what kind of atmosphere, what kind of religion, what kind of society, that's the kind of person you are right now, isn't it? So, software was written into you haphazardly by anybody and everybody that you came in touch with, not by trained professionals. Just about anybody who came, they put in something. Wherever you went, somebody stuffed something into your head. You had no choice from where to receive, where not to receive. If you say, I don't like this man, I don't want to receive anything from him, you will receive much more from him than anybody else. That's how this one is. So right now, the very way you think, feel, understand and act in your life is just the way your software is, isn't it? Yes? The very way you move your body is the way your software is. I want you to understand this. It is so deeply conditioned. If you are somebody you know very well, somebody whom you're very familiar with is walking 1 mile away, you can't recognize anything about that person, but just the way he moves, you know it is this person, isn't it? Because the very way his body moves, only moves whichever way his software is written. But this software was written unconsciously. Now, if we want some freedom to happen, if we want some transformation to happen, we have to create a little space between you and your software. You're too identified with it, you're just lost in it, that's all you become. Now you have to create a little distance. You've heard of a word called Buddha? If I say Buddha, probably you always think of Gautama the Buddha. Gautama is not the only Buddha, that's not his name. He became a Buddha. There have been thousands of Buddhas and there still are. What Buddha means is, Bu means buddhi or the intellect. Dha means dada, one who is above. One who is above his intellect is a Buddha. Once you're above the intellectual process, suffering is finished in your life because all suffering is manufactured there in your logical mind. When you're into your intellect, when you're stuck in your intellect, you are a non-stop suffering human being. Wherever you put, you have a way of creating some kind of suffering. Your fears, your anxieties, your tensions, your stress. Just see, people are capable of suffering just about anything. Yes? Isn't it so? People are capable of suffering just about anything in the world. Please see. If you're not educated, you will suffer that. If you get educated, you suffer that. If you don't find a job, you'll suffer that. If you find a job, you suffer that. If you're not married, you'll suffer that. If you get married, you suffer that. If you don't have children, you suffer that. If you have children, you suffer that, isn't it? People are capable of suffering just about anything. This is the nature of the intellect. Once you are into the intellect, this is how life is. If you are below the intellect, you won't suffer so much. Animals don't suffer as much as you suffer. Physical things, if they're taken care of, they're quite okay. They don't have the kind of suffering that human beings know, isn't it? So if you're below the intellect, you don't suffer so much. Like you asked that question. If you're above the intellect, you're a Buddha. If you're below the intellect, maybe we can call you Buddha. If you're in the intellect, non-stop suffering. So, to avoid suffering, people are inventing many ways to go below the intellect. Excessive eating, alcohol, excessive indulgence in physical pleasures. These are all the ways you're trying to avoid the torment of the intellect for some time. You get drunk and you feel good for a few hours, but then life will catch up with you with more intensity. It won't let you go. Now, this being which was below the intellect somehow evolved into the intellect. The only way out for this is to evolve beyond the intellect. So, the fundamentals of yoga, the technology is how to go beyond this. So, how to do it now? Subjective technologies cannot be explored in uncommitted atmospheres. You need a very committed, focused atmosphere, otherwise it will not be in your grasp. It's not a teaching, it's a method. To implement a method, you need to be in a certain way, in a certain level of commitment, in a certain level of receptivity, otherwise it doesn't work. Because, see now if you go into a chemistry laboratory, you take this chemical, if you put it into it, something happens. But if you're not willing to put it into it, if you sit here and think and think and think, what will this do, what will that do? You will come to all kinds of wrong conclusions. Till you put it there, you won't know. Maybe it'll explode in your face, but till you put it there, you will not know what it is about. But now, you are the chemical, you are the chemist, and you are the experimental process. Everything is you. Now you need a different kind of laboratory, otherwise it doesn't work. If it was objective, we could have just written a book and given it to you. But because it's subjective, you have to be taken step by step because it's a completely different dimension of perception and experience altogether. But is it possible for me? It is possible for every human being. Internally, all of us are equally capable. We are not capable in different ways. All of us are capable of joy, isn't it? Yes? If you have been joyful for one moment, that means you're capable of joy, isn't it? It is just that you're unable to stay there. That's the only thing. There is no human being on the planet who's never been joyful. Every human being has been joyful at some point. That means he's capable of joy. It is just that he's unable to stay there. So he needs a technology as to how to maintain the atmosphere within himself. It's possible. You must do this every day in the night before you go to sleep. Just keep a note of this, because this is like you're doing business. Then you know you're moving forward or backward.
I have many negative feelings, though I do yoga every day. So I'm starting to wonder if I'm actually progressing spiritually.
So, most people who are negative don't even know that they're negative. Only other people experience it. If you're beginning to know I'm negative, you are growing. Making some progress. Because this is the nature of your existence. If somebody comes close to you, if their mouth is smelling, you know his mouth is smelling. But if your own is smelling, your smelling instrument is sitting right here, inspector, doesn't know. Hello? Right here. See, the nose is right here, but it can't smell this, but it can smell that and that and that. This is the nature of your existence. So if you begin to see your own negativity, you're growing, you're progressing. So, if you don't know how, you must do this every day in the night before you go to sleep. You can do Isha Kriya just before you go to bed. Just for a few minutes, and even lying down, you just do it and fall asleep. Before that, you just write just one page. Today, not in terms of what you did, in terms of your experience, are you little more joyful, little more peaceful, little better, or are you worse? Just keep a note of this, because this is like you're doing business. If you're keeping your accounts good, see what you write for the income tax, it's up to you. But for you to run the business, you're keeping proper accounts, then you know you're moving forward or backward. You're making profit or loss. You did not keep any accounts, after 10 years you may go bankrupt suddenly one day. Something happened. Nothing happened, you didn't keep track of things, that's all happened. Hello? So for everything, whether it is your own progress or your business or your family, do not try to invent mystical reasons that, suddenly I got heart attack. Nobody gets suddenly heart attack, you're slowly working for it. Yes, suddenly I became depressed. No, you're working for it. One day you will succeed. If I say this, a whole lot of people will get at me, there is no guru, no compassion, no nothing. It's up to you whether you want to live in somebody's compassion or in the strength of your own sense, it's up to you. Today is Makara Sankranti. Makara meaning winter time or time when the sun is at the lowest in the northern hemisphere. Sankranti suggests movement. We have moved from one phase on this planet to the next phase. This is Makara Sankranti. This means our relationship with the sun, which is the very source of our life on this planet, is changing. When I say relationship with the sun is changing, people who live in Mumbai, in Delhi and in all the big cities and in many parts of the country are right now fearing the summer, the heat, the lack of water, maybe the power cuts and many other inconveniences that happen to you. You must understand, right now we begin to rule the very source of our life with this. From a leaf, a plant, a tree, to insect, worm, man, woman, child, every other creature on this planet is solar-powered. Sun is the basis of our existence. But we are fearing this because when the sun begins to go in full glory, we don't have a tree to sit under. We have ripped this country apart. In our quest for whatever, essentially it is just ignorance that we have done this. It is time we put back. When the sun comes up, should your children not have a tree to sit under or climb upon? Should there not be enough vegetation, enough water in the land? So this Makara Sankranti, I want all of you to take this up in your life in whatever capacity you can do, that we must become competent enough. The future generations in this country should become competent enough to joyfully welcome the summer. This is only possible if we create a conducive atmosphere in nature where the land is rich with vegetation, water resource and the soil is rich to hold the water. Only then we can truly, genuinely celebrate Makara Sankranti. All the best for you on this Makara Sankranti. Sun is anyway going to come. You are up to handling it or not is the only question. Let's make this happen. The colon health is something that's completely neglected today. If you do not keep your colon clean, keeping your mind in a balanced state is very, very difficult. So in Ayurveda and Siddha, first thing if you say anything, you are having sleepless nights, you are having disturbed something, mild, any kind of psychological problems, first thing is purging. Purge the system, clean the colon, suddenly you feel little balanced. It is not a whole solution, but it'll bring the basic necessary atmosphere in the body to make the corrections. Either with medicine or with necessary practices, you can bring about correction. A yogi is always supposed to, have bowel movement twice a day.
See? Twice a day.
Because the colon should be always clean. If you want to do certain sadhana, colon should be clean, and we know this, that if the colon is in a certain level of impurity or if a certain level of waste material are in the colon and we do certain yogic practices, the body will start emanating bad smell.
and it also gets into your head, for sure. So it is directly connected. If you retain the shit, it gets into your head and messes up your life in so many different ways. So the impurities in the body should go as quickly as possible. I feel a whole lot of doctors are saying you must eat as often as possible, don't eat a big meal, eat every 2 hours, something like this. See, when the food is in the stomach bag, not in the intestine, when it's in the stomach bag, when the digestive process is on the cellular level, the purification will not happen. The cells will retain impurities for a long period because digestive process is happening means everything else is brought down, including your brain.
Yeah.
So, in yogic system there must be a minimum of 6 to 8 hours gap between one meal and the next. If that is not possible, at least 4 to 5 hours, 5 hours space is a must. Less than that means you're causing trouble to yourself. So in the yoga center, the day starts with a small marble-sized ball of neem and turmeric. There are many aspects to this, of what impact it has on your system. But first of all, the neem tree, which is generally all over India, today probably being grown in another 10 to 12 different geographical locations around the world, but originally, by nature, indigenous to Indian subcontinent. Is one of the most complex leaves that you can find on the planet. What the neem does to your system? Well, in more tangible terms, one immediate thing it will do is, it will keep your alimentary tract clean. When we say clean, this is a region, this whole digestive process is a region where you have maximum amount of other life. So within this alimentary tract, there are a whole host of microorganisms. Many of them have turned friendly to us. We are living because of them, we are able to digest food because of them. Many functions in the body happen because of them. But still there are many who are harmful to us. The uniqueness of neem, especially when it is taken along with turmeric, if these two things go together, largely those things which are not necessary for the body, those things which can harm the body, any kind of parasital life which is there, all these things get eliminated. From 15th of December to 15th of January, this 1 month, because of very diminished influence of sun upon the northern hemisphere, a certain inertia tends to settle into all that is physical. The physical aspect of life tends to go into inertia mode. When the solar influence is at the minimal, diminished influence, inertia sets in. When inertia sets in, one of the consequences is your colon will not be clean. The simplest thing is this, that you keep the lymphatic system up, then keeping the colon will happen. There is something called as triphala. It's a magical 3 fruits of tropical world. Mixing them in the right way, the triphala, with a little bit of water or a spoon of milk or something, if you take it, or even honey, if you take it, the cleansing in the system will happen, but if you can't find all this, in southern India, we found one magic, this is called as castor oil. Just a little bit. Half a spoon of castor oil every day. In the night, warm it, put it in water or milk and drink it up. You will see your colon remains clean and your lymphatic system gets active because the inertia levels in the body will go down. It was guaranteed, if you come to Kashi, you will attain to mukti. He established what is called today as Bhairavi Yatana. Last 40 seconds, many lifetimes of accumulated karma will play out in fast forward. Kal Bhairav means the dark one, as one aspect of him. It is seen in many different ways. It is a deadly form of Shiva. When he went into a destructive mode, not of destroying this or that, of destroying time. See, all physical realities exist within the span of time, isn't it? If I destroy your time, everything is over. So, Kal Bhairav means just that. Because most people do not choose to live in a great manner. They have an aspiration, at least they want to die in a great way. That little aspiration brought millions of people to Kashi to die. So the last phase of their life, people came because they did not live gloriously, they have a dream of dying gloriously at least. Hope. Dying gloriously means death leading not just to disposal of body, but death leading to an ultimate liberation. It was guaranteed, if you come to Kashi, you will attain to mukti. It doesn't matter what kind of a lousy creature you have been all your life. So all the lousy creatures started coming because they lived badly and they want to die gloriously. Only the population of the lousy multiplied. Then Shiva said the place is becoming lousy with so many lousy people. The place itself will become lousy. So he said, there needs to be some check. So he established what is called today as Bhairavi Yatana. Know what Yatana means? Yatana means ultimate suffering, it's something that happens to you in hell. He will make it happen to you here. Last 40 seconds of one's life, if one is either conscious or if he's in a consecrated space, this will distinctly happen to every human being. For whatever reason, one may be dying. Whether one is dying of old age or disease, the last 40 seconds, many lifetimes of accumulated karma will play out in fast forward. At that moment, these 40 seconds only, if you lived a life of ignorance, if you lived a life of unawareness, lifetimes of unawareness, these 40 seconds, if you can maintain some sense of awareness, he said, all the many accumulated lifetimes of karma, you will drop it, you will go through an intense phase for 40 seconds only and you will be clean and you dissolve.
Essentially, spirituality means putting your life fast forward. You may suffer much more because everything is happening at a fast pace. What you would have stretched for 10 years is happening, let's say, in 1 month. So the amount of intensity of suffering that you go through is big. There may be moments of ecstasy and joy, but there is so much suffering because things are happening rapidly within you. So, at least towards the end of your life, you want to hasten the process. So, Bhairavi Yatana, all this is because of a powerful consecrated space Consecrated space means one thing is just this, it's concentrated life. That means life becomes so concentrated that it burns karmic fuel at a tremendous pace. After some time, once you get used to it, there is no more yatana, it just burns. Essentially, you are at a higher level. So, that is the purpose of every consecrated space. Kashi is significant because of the enormity of the way they built it, the aesthetics, the beauty of it. In those times, they say there wasn't another city on the planet which was that beautiful. All these things put together, it became a big draw. I mean, they created the atmosphere to get the people's focus.
So Kashi is not all pleasure and beauty. It is a place where people go into most intense form of suffering because he puts life on such a super fast forward. Lifetimes of things burn in one moment.
So those who are aspiring for mukti, this dimension that we are referring to as Mahakala becomes of paramount importance. The Mahakala temple, it will shake you from the root of your existence.
There are hundreds of people who think they are possessed and all this. There is a science like that. One can use energies negatively to cause harm to somebody else.
A cobra also has a certain influence on this life, simply because it holds its breath for long periods of time.
Don't take body lightly. It's not a small imprisonment. But when one realizes how they got in, now they know how to live.
This disembodied life has no discriminatory mind. It will tend to go by its tendencies. Whatever karmic substance which is still not dissolved, which will form a certain type of tendency, will drive it in certain directions. Certain directions means wherever there is life, and the life is of such a nature that it breeds minimally. For example, a tamarind tree. If you go and watch the other trees, you will see a lot of birds will be sitting for the night's rest. No bird will settle down on a tamarind tree because the level of oxygen around a tamarind tree is extremely low. It may also move in the direction of a yogi who has a certain mastery over his breath because he is not breathing as much as others are breathing. A cobra also has a certain influence on this life simply because it holds its breath for long periods of time.
There are hundreds of people who think they are possessed and all this. There is a science like that. One can use energies negatively to cause harm to somebody else. It's mostly receded, very little of that is happening. But if you live in certain areas, certain parts of the country, this is very rampant. One thing is, if you have such impacts, you come and sit in the sphere of Dhyanalinga. Because there are occult dimensions to Dhyanalinga which just nullifies all this. One Paurnami or Amavasya, when things are more receptive for you, just one day, just sit there and go, that's all. Gets taken care of.
Your physical body is something that you have loaned from the planet on which you're living. When the time comes, the planet will claim it back. But the other dimensions of you, especially the karmic shell, continues to play. If it is in a certain level of awareness, the disembodied being is in a certain state of pleasantness. It is this that is being referred to as heaven, because they have left their physical body in a certain state of awareness. They enjoy the sweetness at a certain period of time. A holiday, a vacation, before you take on another physical body. Similarly, if people live in certain states of fear, anxiety, anger, in certain states of ignorance, the karmic shell has acquired a certain kinds of unpleasantness about itself. This unpleasantness is what we refer to as hell.
Normally when somebody dies, we say, this person is no more. But that's not the truth. He's no more the way you experience him, but he still is in many other ways.
Don't take body lightly. It's not a small imprisonment. Unless you break it open, you can't leave it, isn't it? But when one realizes how they got in, now they know how to live.
If a person consciously sheds the body without damaging the body in any way, like you shed your clothes, shed your body fully consciously, then we say this is Mahatma. When a person lives like this, that's the end. Truly no more. Once again, whatever you call as myself has just dissolved and become a part of the cosmos. Just that's it. And nothing is left.
In America, everybody drinks water with 3/4 of the tumbler being full with ice cubes. Now what I say now will be unpopular. When in the yogic culture, if you are a yogi, if you're on the path of the inner transformation, you want to transform your system to another dimension of possibility, then you drink water only which is within 4 degrees variation upwardly and downward. That is, your normal body temperature is somewhere around 36 degrees centigrade. So you can drink up to 40 degrees or 32 degrees. This is the best way to consume. If you are a student, that is, you want to absorb knowledge, you're not looking for transformation, you're only interested in absorbing knowledge, then you must drink within 8 degrees variation. That is, you can drink up to 44 degrees and 28 degrees. If you are a householder who is not interested in any transformation or learning, you just want to manage your wife and children and husband, that's all your thing is, then you can drink up to 12 degrees variation from both sides. Beyond that is not considered conducive for anybody. So that's an unpopular thing to say, but it's important that whatever you consume is somewhere in the range of the body temperature, not too far away from that, because it will disturb the way the water within the system behaves by consuming water or any substance which is very, very far away from the body temperature. I know the ice cream loving people and will scream at me now. I'm just telling you the ideal conditions. How many of you want to live in the ideal range? Or being conscious of it wherever possible, staying there is a good thing to do. If you don't feel thirsty, if you don't drink water, nothing is going to happen, you're going to be fine. It's only in America you will die if you don't drink water. And nowhere else people simply drink water. When they get thirsty, they drink water, otherwise they're fine, even in a desert. It's only in America, in cold climate, everybody's carrying a bottle and sipping continuously because the marketing machines have done this to them, that they must drink lots of water. Excessive consumption of water, especially if it's done in small sips, body absorbs. When it absorbs, the sodium levels, which are very delicately balanced, will drop. The rest of the body also is affected but may not be noticeable, but in the brain, sodium levels dropping will lead to swelling of the brain. This does not mean your brain is growing. Swelling means it's a kind of sickness, okay? Not expansion of the brain. it's swelling up because of lack of sodium content. So because there's not enough sodium, more water goes into the brain, trying to supply the required sodium to keep the balance. So more water in your brain means you will slosh. Psychological imbalances will come. See, if you drink lots of water at one go, body will decide how much to absorb, how much to throw out. But if you keep sipping through the day, body kind of gets deceived and tends to absorb more water than it should. But let's say right now you drink 2 liters of water, all of it is not going to go into the system. What is needed, it'll take, rest of it will be shunted out. Nobody need to drink water simply because you think it's a good thing to do. When you feel thirsty, you must drink water just to ensure you're drinking enough. Drink 10% more than what you actually need, a couple of cups more, just to ensure that you don't drink less. You have a certain amount of time before you can drink, that it's not an emergency. At the same time, when you need water, when you're thirsty, if you don't drink, it'll cause damage to the system. The damage to the heart is immense when the water that is needed is not there in the system. But when I say water, it is not just about drinking liquid water, you must eat high water content foods. If you eat a fruit, it's nearly 90% water. Vegetables and other things are over 70% water. When you consume food, at least it must be level with the percentage of water content in your own body. So any food that you eat should be at least 70% water content. So this is why vegetables, fruits must be part of your diet so that it is there.
The most intimate of the physicality in the existence is your body. And this body is just a piece of earth. So you're just a small outcrop of this earth. Right now you're an outcrop who prances around. After some time, you will become a small mound.
You may believe many fancy things about yourself, but that's not the reality.
Somehow, this fundamental thing that we are just a small outcrop of the soil on which you're sitting right now is forgotten, generally till we are buried.
If you want to live sensibly, you should have contact with the earth that you live on. Today, because we have lost this contact in certain ways, it gets disorganized. This disorganization can lead to disease and weakness and ultimately destabilization of the system itself.
कहे कुमार को तू क्या रूह दे मोही एक दिन ऐसा होएगा मैं रूह दूंगी तोही।
I must tell you this experience. We had a yogic hospital in our yoga center in India. We called it Yogic Hospital. We did not want it to grow too much because we don't want to turn into a hospital full-time. We are a spiritual center so we're keeping it low-key. Once when I came here, I spoke and a few doctors, American doctors who were interested, they traveled to India. They came and stayed there for 3 days and after 3 days, one of the volunteers came and told me all the American doctors are up in arms, they want to leave. I said, what happened? They said, it's best that you meet them, they're just off. Then I said, okay, and I went to meet them. Then I said, what's the problem? They said, you said there is a hospital. Where is a hospital? There is no hospital here. I said, right now there are about 60 and odd patients. I said, where is it? Their idea of a hospital is that there must be beds, you must treat sick well, and everybody should be… If you treat them so well, they will not want to become healthy.
Where are the patients? I said, they're all in the garden, I put them to work. We give them the treatment and therapies and medication, but rest of the time I put them to work. Whatever they can do, they must do. Above all, they must sit and work barefoot and bare hands with the soil. Just being in touch with the planet, because you're just a drop of this planet, you're forgetting that. What you call as my body is just a piece of the planet, isn't it? If you lose connection with the source, will you not get disorganized? Fitness and well-being does not mean walking on a treadmill, having bulging muscles like that. No. To strengthen the integrity of elements in our system is very important. So is there some way to do it? Yes, there are specific methods with which we can do. One simple way right now is work with the earth and water and plants and stay outdoors. That itself will do something. So fundamentally, if there is a certain assurance of nourishment happening to the body in terms of food, and there's clean air to breathe, and being in touch with the earth can complete the health process altogether. So if you can't be in tune with that, if you're a very affluent and fashionable, you can have a mud bath. That's another way.
So today you take vacations, go to the spas, have mud bath, in a very expensive atmosphere. But every day if you stick your hands into the earth, or at least for a few minutes a day, you would see the body would be in a much better condition, because whenever it's in contact with the earth, the body reorganizes itself.
The more you're in touch with it, it's better. All of you can't turn into farmers now, and maybe you're living on the 12th floor and you can't be a gardener either. So at least being in touch with the earth, palms and soles are very sensitive to this. If your hands and your bare feet are in contact with the earth, it'll make a difference. Or at least you do your… I don't recommend this, but if you are doing your afternoon siesta, do it under a tree with your spine in contact with the earth, things will happen very well. Or to be in a natural pool of water which is in the earth, like a lake or a river or an ocean, will do tremendous things to the system. You know the grounding, you know, the electricity groundings we do. Is it called grounding here? What do you call it? Earthing. It's called earthing or grounding, you know, it's called earthing actually. So, when you earth the electrical connections, one thing is to keep it wet, because if it is wet, it gets conducted better. So, this is why in all the Indian temples, why do you think people are making their bodies wet and lying down on the floor in prostration? Is just this, not just earthing, that special earth, which is energized earth around. So, you want the entire body to be in touch with the thing. So, men go bare-bodied, at least their upper body is bare. Women go with wet clothes so that that contact is there. This contact with nature, whether it's earth or air or water, is most important. If that is not there, the body will slowly lose its integrity, it'll lose its stability, it loses many abilities that it is capable of. It may still survive, it may not die tomorrow morning, but it loses its variety of capabilities that it has come with. The many possibilities, the array of possibilities that human system carries is lost as you lose contact with the natural element. Especially before you go for dinner or for lunch, especially before that, at least for half an hour, walk without footwear, not on this granite, either in the grass or in the mud outside. You will see body being in touch with the earth, when you eat the food that you eat, the way it integrates it is very different. Digestion will anyway happen, but how much you can integrate into the system depends on how much you're in tune with the earth. So, even half an hour if you walk without shoes or footwear and the body remains in touch with the earth, you will see the elements will function with little more integrity than the way it is right now.
Walking and playing barefoot is really coming into vogue. The yogic systems have always recommended this, and now science is getting there too. Especially for children, not only does this give them better balance, it also helps develop their cerebral capabilities. The nerves of the feet are sensitive, and as they come in contact with the ground, the child develops a better understanding of their environment and also experiences better awareness of the body. Walking barefoot has been linked to better agility, stronger leg muscles, and lower risk of injury.
Being in touch with the earth has many other aspects to it.
In the ashram, I always told people, no matter what work you're doing, at least for 1 hour a day, you must stick your fingers into the earth. You do something with the garden somewhere, your hands should get muddy. This will build a natural physical memory in you, a bodily memory in you that you are mortal. Every day, if you're sticking your hands into the earth, you will constantly… your body will know that it's not permanent, because the body has a memory of its own. Its body's memory far more significant than the mental memory. Right now, the memory that your body carries is ruling you far more than the memories of your mind.
Physiologically, on the cellular level, on the elemental level, you're constantly being reminded that you are mortal if you are close to the earth.
See, the reminder of your mortality is the most key element in your spiritual process. Why would you long to know something beyond the body? Only because you know it will end one day, isn't it? Suppose this body was immortal, who the hell is going to sit and meditate? Who the hell wants to know anything beyond this, if this was immortal by itself, isn't it? Because somewhere, even if you're not consciously aware, somewhere deep down, you know your expiry date is on. The expiry date is on, you're trying to stretch it a bit, but you know you have an expiry date. It is because of that the longing to know, isn't it? So the fundamentals of spiritual process is your mortality. If you're reminded of your mortality, naturally you will want to know. There are various practices in India as to how to connect to the earth experientially, many practices. Just sitting down, cross-legged on the floor, the body in some way experientially is reminded. There is a reminder for the body that this is just this. The moment it is in touch with the earth, it knows it is this.
Those of you who have very unstable bodies, that is, you tend to fall sick very easily and constantly those kind of things. If you just get off your cot and sleep on the floor, you will see it'll make a big difference. Just that much. Just maybe 18 inches away you are, just get 18 inches closer. You will see it'll make a big difference in terms of reorganizing the system.
I would say 80% of your health depends on this, how much you're in tune with the earth. 80%. 80% of your chronic ailments can just vanish simply because you kind of found a little rapport with the earth on which you're walking or sitting right now.
One simple practice that all of you can start is the Bhuta Shuddhi, if you have the time and the necessary focus to do it.
Bhuta Shuddhi means, Bhuta means Panchabhutas or the
five elements. Shuddhi means to cleanse that. Whether it is the physical body or the larger body of the creation itself, essentially is made of five elements of earth, water, fire, air, space. What you call as myself is just a mischief of these five elements. If you know how to organize these five elements properly, if you know how to keep these five elements within yourself, then there is nothing more to life in terms of health, well-being, perception, knowing, everything, enlightenment. Everything is handled if only you know how to keep these five elements properly. This elemental play happens in a different way when it's in touch with the earth.
Every time I hear this, particularly when I'm in the United States, I still can't come to terms with it. People calling earth as dirt. Maybe it's just another word, but in our mind, dirt means… What is dirt for you? Huh? Trash, isn't it? Dirt is trash, isn't it? Yes or no? Even in America, dirt is trash? No? What is it? Something that you don't want. Yes, it's trash, that's what is trash, something that you don't want. But soil, here we call it Thai Mann, Mother Earth.
Why is it we are not reverential to all those things which make our life, sustain our life moment to moment? You just treat them differently. Suddenly they behave differently within you. If you did not drink water for 3 days, even if God comes, you'll only ask for water. If you hold your nose for 3 minutes, you don't want God, you want a breath, fresh air, isn't it? One simple thing that everybody can do is, the air that they breathe, the water that they drink, the food that they eat, and the earth that they walk upon, and the space which holds us. 5 times a day, let's say. If you are too preoccupied, at least 3 times a day, consciously, just bring a certain sense of reverence.
This is a very common thing, you're being told, Matru Prema, Pitru Prema, this one, that one. Prithvi Prema, that is, love for the planet on which you're walking, because that's not different from you.
Thank you for joining us. Please share your observations on this subject in the comments, subscribe to continue our journey together, and invite others to join this path. See you soon.